everybody, this is Adrienne with Ascension Soul Coaching. It's just food for thought. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Why do you think you keep hearing about the economists predict that there's going to be an energy crisis or food crisis, financial crisis, or hardship? Why do you think you keep hearing about that? Is it because they're already planning those things to happen? I've been thinking about it a lot myself lately, and so here are some of my thoughts and opinions. Please do your own research. Remember in 2008 when there was the financial collapse? The G7 was expanded to the G20, and the leading 20 nations that were part of this expansion was China, Russia, and the European nations. Isn't that interesting that now we're having these issues with Russia and China? Well, anyway, they came together to discuss and manage these huge global problems. And some of these nations' leaders were part of Klaus Schwab's Young Global Leaders.
When I mention now names like Ms. Merkel, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And their mission was to establish a one global economic order. And some of us call it the one world order. Either way works. The mission was to create these projects that would help with climate change, to bring us closer to net zero, and to build a sustainable future. They combined these private and public organizations or partnerships that was made up of really high-powered corporations and the government. Now, the corporations were to be able to create a plan that would make everything sustainable, and then the government was used to be able to create the regulations that would help bring it all together. And then in this, they designed the interactive dynamic maps called transformation maps to be able to see how this scheme was going to build out. But what they didn't do is they didn't tell you and me about these maps and about their plans.
The fourth industrial revolution will impact our lives completely. It will not only change how we communicate, how we produce, how we consume. It will change actually us, our own identity. And of course gives life to such policies and developments like smart traffic, smart government, smart cities. What we will see is that everything will be integrated into an ecosystem driven by big data and driven particularly by close cooperation also of governments with business, civil society. And this revolution will come at a breathtaking speed. It will be like a tsunami. And actually, it's not just a digital revolution, it's digital, of course physical with nanotechnology, but it's also biological. And so 3D provides the particular force to this revolution. So what the World Economic Forum is doing is to promote this public-private cooperation to master the fourth industrial revolution.
In 2010, the Rockefeller Foundation released a report illustrating 3 rehearsal scenarios that would help forward their mission, as well as highlight some of its gaps in their operations. And then they would make tweaks before fully implementing them. They planned carefully using the best minds in psychology, military strategy, and scientific research. Those rehearsal strategies were named Lockstep, Hack Attack, and Clever Together. The lockstep scenarios is one of the first to open up the steps towards the Great Reset Plan. Now, it looked at what would happen if we encounter a potentially severe worldwide pandemic.
But listen to this carefully and kind of catch what the intent is and how intrusive it is. Let's listen to this.
And COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, We need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. What we have seen so far is corporations and governments collecting data about where we go, who we meet, what movies we watch. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. We now see mass surveillance systems established even in democratic countries, which previously rejected them. And we also see a change in the nature of surveillance. Previously, surveillance was mainly above the skin. Now it's going under the skin. Governments want to know not just where we go or who we meet. Above all, they want to know what is happening under our skin. What's our body temperature? What's our blood pressure? What is our medical condition?
The hack attack scenario looked at potential cyber attacks against our information systems and electricity grid. What if the grid went down for weeks or months and citizens would lose access to their banks, electricity, and the internet?
Now humans are developing even bigger powers than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
I mean, they are planning to build smart cities where citizens will live and work in sectors within a 15-minute limit of whatever they need. Smart grids where your carbon footprint can be better monitored. Digital currency to have quicker and safer money transactions. And ID passports that can track your whereabouts. And social credit scores so that everybody's behavior is managed with the old whip and carrot system. Now, clever together means designing an oversight committee like the WHO over, I don't know what, vaccines. This philosophy means that countries would probably give up their own sovereign to be governed by one world government. So what's the plan to implement these things? What if it was to destroy everything and then to rebuild it back better the way that they want it to be for the elites? That means the economy, education, jobs, farming, food, home ownership, cities, our health, and vaccines. What if it meant all those things? That they're going to build these systems back the way they want them to. They're going to destroy everything just to build it back the way they want it to. If you go to the World Economic Forum, WEFORUM.org, or the United Nations 2030 Agenda webpage, which is UN.org/Agenda 2030. You can go to those websites at any time you want to look at what they have in store for us. How do they get us to go along with this plan? Could it be that they're using these words like resilience and imagine? Like, this world will be so resilient to withstand any type of crisis. Or imagine what it would be like if all AI took over all the jobs and people could stay at home and get UBI every day. You don't have to pay for your home, you don't have to pay for your car, you don't have to pay for your food, and we don't need as many more humans anymore because of course we're trying to deal with climate change and we only need 500 million people instead of 7 billion. We can get the AI and the humanoids and become transhumanism and then we don't have to pay anybody anything. What about that? Can you imagine that world? And if that doesn't work, what if they say, well, your neighbor, he's not looking out for our good. He's being selfish. He's not taking the special medicines. He's not conserving his water. He doesn't want to, reduce his carbon footprint. And so that is not good for the world. And so now we start naming our neighbors and saying, my God, they're not doing the right thing for the world. And then if that doesn't work, what about floods in your area to wash away all your lands, or earthquakes that would, crack over the area where you're in, or create some volcanoes or instigate some volcano action so that ash goes everywhere and just kills everything and you can't live there anymore? And so, because of course, the government would have a solution, right? You have to come and live in our little tiny houses with tiny little windows. Imagine that. You will own nothing and be happy because we will take care of everything for you. Is it possible? Do we care? Are we doing anything about it? I mean, only you can do your own research to figure out if that any of this stuff rings a bell. Because the failure to understand these things could lend itself to people losing their rights and their autonomy to make decisions on their own. And the next thing you do is you figure out, well, how do you change the trajectory of where we're going now? How do you change it so it's calmer and more moral and more sustainable for the citizens? Now, somebody would say, well, why are we finding about all this stuff now? Why, if it's a secret, why are we finding about all this stuff now? Well, David Rockefeller said that back then we weren't ready. And now that the world is more technologically advanced and mature, and we're ready for it, they can implement it. So it's no longer a secret. They're telling us there's a plan, there are scenarios. All you gotta do is read it online, go to their web pages and read them. But right now they believe that they're so strong and they're so far ahead of us, there's nothing that's gonna stop them. It's just food for thought. What do you think? If these scenarios were ever to come true. So leave your comments down below. Have you heard about these scenarios? Have you heard about, you will own nothing and be happy? I mean, have you heard those sayings anytime in the past 3 years? Let me know and we can discuss. All right, y'all have a great day. Thank you for joining me again. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell and share the video if you like, if you think it helps someone else. If you need a reading with me, I do readings, I do coaching. You can reach me at Ascension Soul Coaching at gmail.com. Thank you for joining me today. Blessings.